Hey everybody, so I decided to take my camera with me today to the gym. I was sick last weekend, which a lot of you know about, so this is my 6th day training again, and this is my 6th day doing a full body workout again. I started with the bench press, and as you guys know, I always warm up on all of my lifts using the same technique I'm going to use even for a 1 rep max or for an ultra heavy set, because it's moronic to warm up with a technique that is incorrect because you're going to program piss poor motor patterns in doing that, and it's actually a very, very bad thing. I'm more or less doing a medium grip bench, which is probably what I'm going to stick with up through competitions. I'm really not that comfortable with ultra wide benching anymore. It seems to hurt my shoulders a bit, and I get a little better leverages near the middle of the movement because I seem to get more tricep activation if I take a narrower grip. So for those curious, my grip is about 3 inches inside the rings, which means my pinkies are about 3 inches from the rings. So it's almost a closed grip bench press by some people's standards. And here comes my heavy set. I worked with 140 kilos for my heaviest set today. I did a triple. It felt relatively heavy. I didn't think I had more in the tank. I maybe could have squeezed out a 4th rep, but it would have been one hell of a grinder. But overall, I was happy with this set and happy with my technique on it. I might have liked a little more bar speed, a little more explosiveness, but I think that's something every powerlifter wants out of just about any set. And of course, which is common for me, this happens about 50% of the time, my 2nd rep turns out to be the fastest and the cleanest looking rep, and that's just the way it goes. That does worry me for meets sometimes, because if I can't get my 1st rep to be the best one, that's not always great if I'm about to try to hit a PR at a meet for a 3rd attempt. Alright, up next I'm going to do some squatting for you guys, and yes, for those asking, I am Olympic squatting. Again, I can do just about any style of squatting because of my structure, my relatively short femurs, and just the way that my body is built. I can easily go back and forth between any style of squatting and hit within 5% of the same numbers. And I just feel more comfortable with a high training frequency doing a really narrow stance because it's a lot easier on my hips. It's harder on the lower back, but my lower back is the most bulletproof thing in my body. It is virtually impossible for me to overtrain or overtax my lower back. I've just never been able to, the way that some people do. So for me, I would much rather put stress on that than my hips when I'm squatting 6 or 7 days a week sometimes, and then pulling on a lot of those days as well. So I'm actually using a very, very narrow stance. My feet are about 6 to 8 inches apart. My heels are at the very widest. This is my last warm-up set before I go to my heavy set. My heaviest set coming up is with 200 kilos. I'm really unhappy with it, even for Beltless, because yesterday I got 3 reps and they felt a lot better, but it seems like when I got under it today that it was just felt extremely heavy. When I unracked the weight, it felt like it was at least 220, 230 kilos on my shoulders. I couldn't seem to get my technique down, and you'll notice that when I go to do that in a minute, if you'll watch, I don't drop down as fast as I normally do on a squat. It's because I felt skittish and like the weight was almost too heavy. And by failing to drop fast enough, I didn't get that stretch reflex at the bottom, and it made the bar go up a lot slower on the way back up. So it robbed me from probably even being able to get a 3rd rep. And it's just an issue of, I think my nervous system was a little fatigued today, and I couldn't go quite as heavy as I'm capable of doing. And I probably should have dropped down to 190 again today like I did in that last video instead of trying the 200. But there it goes, and you can see that I'm definitely struggling with this, because I would never drop that slow on a weight that I'm comfortable with. And then we go to deadlifts, and I'm still doing deficit deadlifts. For those wondering, I feel that I need a lot more power and speed off the floor, so until I can pull 260 kilos off of the floor with a 3-inch deficit, I'm not going back to standard height, because I feel like that's my weakness, and I feel like once I can get 260 off the floor in a deficit, with no belt, that throwing a belt on and doing the shorter range of motion, I should be able to pull 300 kilos easily. So that's my plan, at least, and that's why I'm doing this, and I train exclusively with deficit deadlifts right now. And you guys will notice some people ask what my deadlift technique looks like. This is what my technique looks like. You'll notice I start really high, and then I drop down and get the protective arch at the bottom, but I drop and pull, drop and pull. I don't keep my hips high, and a lot of people thought that from the stiff leg video. And here's my heavy set. It's 220. I did 3 reps. which again, for me, I think is quite good. I'm happy with this, doing this from a deficit, because the most I've pulled for a single so far with the deficit is 230. So I need another 30 kilos before I quit doing the deficit. So I'm slowly making progress on it. But I was happy with these. These are all strong reps, considering I'm going to be a lot slower than I should be because of the deficit. Normally I pull a lot faster than this. I'm a very, very fast puller. But because of the deficit, I'm just not able to generate the kind of bar speed I would like. But I was very happy with the set. And here's your bicep shots, because you guys always ask for a bicep shot and get mad when I don't seem to do one in a training video. And yes, I'm chewing gum. I always chew gum when I lift. So let me give you guys a bicep shot. The behind the neck presses were fantastic today. This is, again, just a warm-up. I managed to get 80 kilos for a triple today. I did it for a double the last 2 days in a row. And the most I had done was 75 behind the neck before this week. So I started trying to work it up and just gradually handle as much as I could each day. And I was really happy with this. It looks slow, it's a little sloppy, but considering this is a weight I have never lifted on this lift, at least in a decade, until this week, the fact that I got it for a triple, I'm quite happy about. So my strength is definitely going up on this, and I feel like it is transferring over to my bench and making me stronger out of the bottom of my bench by having stronger delts. Very happy with that set. And once again, Skullcrushers. And actually, I don't do Skullcrushers every day. I only do these about 3 times a week. But they're always good to record because people seem impressed with heavy Skullcrushers. So I'm demonstrating the technique for you guys again. Notice there is shoulder extension, and that is to recruit the long head. And this is just my basic technique. And I didn't set a PR again. I hit the same thing I hit last time when I did a video. I ended up just getting 5 reps with 60 kilos, and it felt really heavy because of the heavy benching and then hitting that behind the neck PR. I felt like my triceps were just really, really fatigued, and there's just no way I could do more than 5 reps. And when I started this set, I didn't think I was going to get more than 3 after this first rep, because this felt really heavy. But I managed to squeeze out 5. I had trouble doing anything else after this. I didn't even want to do any other arm work, but I ended up doing some reverse curls up next just for a little extra forearm work. For those curious on that, the reason I'm not doing bicep work always in these videos, I do my biceps at home. I have dumbbells at home, and I do some of my side delt and my bicep work with dumbbells at home, and so that's not really recorded on here. I do concentration curls and things like that. But here are my reverse curls, and yes, the technique's going to look terrible to you guys. Someone will say, why don't you just reduce the weight and do it a little cleaner? Because when I if I take 5 kilos off here and I do it a little cleaner, I can do like 30 reps and I don't feel shit. So it seems to be completely useless to me unless I go heavy enough that I have to cheat slightly. I simply don't feel anything in my muscles I'm trying to work. And here I'm demonstrating the importance of working your rear delts. A lot of you guys have shoulders that hurt because you don't know how to bench or overhead press correctly, and you don't bother to work your rear delts at all, and so you guys are just screwing yourselves up. This is one of the keys to maintaining healthy shoulders and a healthy shoulder girdle, is to keep those rear delts strong. And they're a very small, weak muscle. You don't need a lot of weight. I'm using 5 kilo plates for this. And we finish up with, you guessed it, abs, more ab work. My standard crunches I just grab a 20 kilo plate, put it on the back of my head, and crank out about 20 crunches. And usually that's enough because my abs are pretty well fatigued from the squatting and deadlifting and overhead pressing. So just this 120 rep set is more than enough to make them cramp up. In fact, you'll notice at the end I have to grab the straps to pull myself up because my abs are cramping when I try to sit up. Alright guys, so this is again another example of just an average workout for me. I train full body every day. It is not uncommon for me to squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, and do even weighted chin-ups all on the same day and then come back and repeat it tomorrow. This is the style of training that I currently use. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.